So this video statement is from the Vermont Judiciary, both for the oversight on judges and quite possibly a restraining order, as well as the domestic violence victims advocate at Burlington PD. McAfee, can't think of her, Mary McAfee, I think her name is, or McCaffrey, not sure which. She's a suspect, along with former Mayor Mira Weinberger, former Buffalo Mayor Byron Brown, who was Cuomo's and Governor Cuomo's DNC chair, all of whom under criminal investigation for a whole lot of crap, but namely capital homicide to avoid attempted capital homicide and completed capital homicides to avoid detection on racketeering, revolving around falsified records or evidence tampering or mishandling of sensitive government documents, medical evidence and records, police evidence, various social services, including actual government, like Buffalo. I don't remember. It was Erie County Homeless Services, but it was everybody was employed by the Erie County. Here in Vermont, you have many people at Economic Services Division, which I believe is part of Children and Family Services, as well as Green Mountain Care, who awarded me Vermont Medicaid after somebody at Safe Harbor went online, pretended to be me, and got Vermont Medicaid in my name, committed perjury on the application, and then electronically forged my signature. And that served many purposes. They also wrote up 2 sets of completely false medical records as if I was in there for a visit. Never mind, everything was shut down for COVID. They weren't even seeing established patients, much less doing new patients. Seeing new patients. Hell, they didn't even want us in the emergency room for anything. I do believe it obstructed a lot of people's cancer care. Now, in my case, it's attempted capital homicide because they knew I had cancer. They were running unbundling and upcoding kickbacks frauds that contained false criminal allegations of malingering for narcotics to offset their DEA drug diversion, aka drug trafficking, and bogus psychiatric diagnoses. They deliberately omit important facts and findings and then manufacture a whole lot of false crap that red flags us with federal and state and local law enforcement. And many of them are involved, whether it's the mayors and the police officers, their stockholders. They turned my $20,000 cancer issue into a multi-million-dollar issue, defrauding. And they were defrauding public benefits or subsidized insurance coverage with United Health and Centene Corporation, aka HealthNet. My ex-boyfriend and employer, attorney C. Chad Cronin, J.D., his father was a hospital board member at the Orlando Regional Medical Center. It didn't start with that hospital, but to my knowledge, the bogus pelvic floor diagnosis that is basically subtext for she's got so much stress as a traumatized child sex trafficking victim that they then later, I recorded Chad, old childhood neighbor Darla Munis de Toloi, now at Homeland Security, and Goldwater oligarch Virginia G. Piper, a supervisor at Homeland Security, all indicating that it was my parents who sexually abused me. All my parents. It was their various, when it was actually as a child. Yeah, were my parents abusive? Yes, they were my mother wasn't set. I mean, she's a victim herself. God knows what she went through with her very violent adult alcoholic father. My Native American father, certainly our family has toxicity because my Native American grandfather is the son of slaves, tattooed with a number by the federal government, still branded with the name Moore. That's why I have mostly coal black hair at the age of 55 in spite of all the crap I've gone through. I'm a sworn and immunized investigator. Chad swore me in and immunized me. He was also my attorney. I met him in AA, and he was using me on cases. I was his art director, his art curator for his business, The Clatch, which he did register with the sunbiz.org, where you register businesses with Florida Department of the Treasury. He said I was the victim of Brady violations by two Florida State's attorneys in Orange County, Kim Mann and Karen Bankowitz, whom he had worked with as a domestic violence prosecutor. They committed their Brady violations that got Matthew Nessel killed, a child trafficking victim, killed by predator Scott Rozier Mason, whose father was had done like 10 years for child abuses, and which involved photographs. I'm not going to say the words because of the algorithm. So that was under Attorney General Pam Bondi, or Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi. I ended up going to prison to cover up the fact that I had cancer. So Chad took my case. He illegally solicited my case in AA, moved me into his home as his girlfriend, swears me in and immunizes me. He says, raise your right hand. I got to swear you in and immunize you because, you're working on cases. I'm consulting you about cases, and I got to make sure that nobody can subpoena you or threaten to prosecute you, compel you to testify against me or my clients. I didn't apply for a fucking job. He told me I was going to work for him. And I made that prick a lot of money. Never got paid. Now, his list of his resume is literally a who's who, besides his father being a Republican hospital board member involved in healthcare fraud with then Governor, convicted fraudster Rick Scott, Trump's Trump Care advisor. Chad was a DNC campaign manager and political strategist. He was a special prosecutor while an attorney at Human Rights Campaign who was contracted to do independent investigations by Kamala Harris's brother-in-law, Tony West, who was the assistant director at the DOJ Civil Rights Division. He was the bias crimes advisor for Orlando PD, under several chiefs, but most notably former Florida Rep. Val Demings, whose husband, Chad, probably helped get elected sheriff, and then probably helped get him elected mayor. So Mayors Byron Brown and Phoenix Mayor and Phoenix Police and Columbia, Missouri Police and Mayor, for a fact, I got all that recorded, and all those doctors and universities that are all contracted with United and Centene. Are basically working with former Mayor Mira Weinberger and probably several of the corrupt police chiefs and their contractors, which would be Howard Center, Safe Harbor / CV Community Health Centers of Burlington. Definitely some people at CVOEO who made sure I didn't get a proper, under COVID, they came up with a policy that if you wanted to continue to be housed in a hotel during COVID, you had to be referred to CVOEO, who was supposed to do an hour-long assessment to make a proper referral for case management, which in my case, it should have been steps. They made sure it never got done, and then have spent the past 6 years trying to force me to work with Safe Harbor, Howard Center, Cox, Burlington Housing Trust, a new place, and any number of other of their corrupt contractors, government contracted charities that are involved in falsifying records to defraud HUD, Medicaid, Medicare, Marketplace Plan, Social Security, which also ultimately defrauds the IRS and DEA. And let's not forget that there are many of these people, the Weinbergers and Goldwaters, were involved in Iran-Contra that proved that our government and the police and Bill Clinton, and he used deputies, state police, regular police to transport and mule drugs, street drugs, illicit drugs, which now includes fentanyl. Safe Harbor has been implicated by the people who did the killing in 3 local homicides of 3 people who were not real close to me, but acquainted with me, and had people close to them poison them with a lethal dose of fentanyl for some petty kickback, and tried to do the same to me. Though I already knew what it was, I didn't take all of it. I just took a small fraction of it so that I would test positive for fentanyl, because I forgot to bring my fentanyl testing kit with me to test it. Otherwise, I would have just went in the bathroom, tested it, and pretended that I took it when I didn't. So, and that person who did that admitted to killing one of them, a guy named Alfonso. Not to mention they're hiring these idiotic PIs. We got one here now, who's from Orlando, coincidentally, and is the 3rd guy from Orlando to basically set me up for no trespass by having me put a tent on private property and then saying, oh, just leave it there, nobody will bother it. Next thing I know, the police are rolling up because there's a tent on somebody's private property or whatever. Smear campaign. Which includes a lady named, not a lady, a Nazi named Autumn Caton. I only learned her name after I was served with a restraining order, after I told her and her friend Becky Burrell, and they all watch my social media. I don't watch their social media. I only know Becky's name because she put her name in her handle on YouTube when she commented on my posts. Said their relatives were military. They're working with somebody at BPD, whether it be Homeland Security Protective Services or regular police officers or both, that have access to that's allowed, that has access to really high-tech surveillance, and made sure she was always at the bus station before me or would roll up after me. This went on for a couple years. This nasty POS tried to run a honeypot on me. She was being seductive, and as if. First time I met her, I knew she was the reincarnation of Herman Goring. You can't have a conversation with her. She has to have the whole conversation, and if you try to say anything, she has to redirect it back about herself. So I knew right there she was a Nazi. I knew she was working for somebody, but I knew she was working with these other